The morning bell rang through the halls of Jefferson High School, signaling the start of another day. Students filed into their classrooms, whispering and joking as usual. But today was different. A new teacher had just joined the school, and the buzz about her presence had already spread like wildfire. Her name was Miss Daniels, a soft-spoken woman in her late 20s with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. She wore a simple blouse, carried a brown leather bag, and smiled at every student who crossed her path. Room 209 was unusually loud that morning. A group of notorious troublemakers sat at the back, led by Trent, the self-declared king of pranks, with his loyal crew, Zach, Maria, and James. They'd made it their mission to test every new teacher that walked through the door. To them, it was sport. And when Miss Daniels walked in and gently greeted them with, "Good morning, everyone," they smirked at each other. She didn't look like she'd last a week. Miss Daniels wrote her name on the board and turned to begin roll call. Her voice was soft but clear, and she moved down the list of names with patience and grace. But halfway through, Zach let out a fake sneeze followed by a loud, childish fart noise from a sound app. The room erupted in laughter, except for Miss Daniels, who calmly waited for it to pass before continuing. But Trent wasn't done. As Miss Daniels walked by his desk to hand out the class syllabus, he reached out and yanked the back of her blouse, causing the seam to tear. The sound of the fabric ripping was sharp. Everyone froze. Laughter turned to stunned silence. Miss Daniels stood still for a moment, her back turned to them, the tear revealing a glimpse of her shoulder blade. A quiet gasp escaped from a student near the front. Trent tried to laugh it off. "Oops, guess I'm too strong." A few nervous chuckles followed. Miss Daniels turned around slowly. Her eyes weren't angry. They weren't embarrassed either. They were filled with something far more unsettling, disappointment. "Trent," she said calmly, "would you please step outside with me for a moment?" The entire class watched, holding their breath, as she led Trent out into the hallway. Everyone inside speculated. Would she cry? Would she call the principal? Would she leave? No one expected what happened next. 10 minutes later, Trent re-entered the room. His face was pale, his eyes wide, and his hands trembled slightly as he walked silently back to his desk. No smirk. No smug expression. Just shock. Following close behind him was Miss Daniels, now wearing a gym sweatshirt handed to her by the PE coach. She returned to the front of the class like nothing had happened. No one dared to speak. Not even Zach. Miss Daniels took a deep breath and said, "I'd like to tell you a short story." She sat on the edge of her desk and began. "When I was 17, I was bullied every single day at school. My father was a janitor at the very school I attended, and kids used to throw garbage in the hallways just so he'd have to clean it up while they laughed. I didn't fight back. I didn't have the strength, or so I thought. But one day, my father came home with bruises on his face. He had slipped while cleaning and no one had helped him. I decided I'd never let people treat others like that again. So I trained. I studied. I became disciplined in more than just academics." The students looked at each other, puzzled. "I've trained in martial arts for the past 9 years, she continued, her voice unwavering. "Not so I could fight people, but so I could protect myself and others when it matters." That's what I reminded Trent of out in the hallway. Every eye in the room turned toward Trent. His face said it all. He had tried to intimidate her, maybe even threaten her. But something had happened out there, something that had stripped him of all his bravado. Miss Daniels finished her story. "You don't earn respect by tearing people down. You earn it by standing up, learning from your mistakes, and choosing to be better." She paused. "That offer is still open to every one of you." The bell rang, but no one moved. One by one, the students began to approach her desk, not to make excuses or defend what had happened, but to apologize. Zach was the first. Maria followed. Even James, usually the quietest of the group, whispered, "I'm sorry." Miss Daniels accepted each one with grace. For the next few weeks, something shifted in room 209. The laughter was still there, but it was kinder. The jokes stopped being cruel. And Trent. He sat in the front row, did his assignments early, and even volunteered to carry books from the teacher's lounge. Word spread fast. Not about the torn shirt, but about the teacher who didn't raise her voice, didn't humiliate, didn't seek revenge, but transformed an entire classroom with her strength and story. Miss Daniels became more than just a teacher to them. She became a symbol of quiet power, of standing tall when others try to pull you down. And every student who once laughed at her that morning left her classroom, weeks later, not just with knowledge, but with a new understanding of courage, respect, and redemption.